If you're a landlord in the city of Spokane, then I have an important update for you. You may recall that late last year, the city of Spokane passed a measure requiring all landlords to register their properties as rental properties. Initially, there were no real penalties if you didn't register your property, but now, here come the teeth, so get ready. My name is Phil Wells. I'm a local real estate agent and investor licensed in Washington and Idaho. I like to keep up to date with all these policy changes so that you can be as informed as possible too. When the rule was first imposed, there were no real teeth to get you to comply. Technically, it was a code violation not to register your property as a rental property, but of course, you would have to tell the city of Spokane that that property is in fact a rental property, and how are they going to know to fine you if you didn't tell them? Now though, the city council have voted by a 5-2 margin to make it such that you cannot evict a tenant or raise your rent if you are not registered as a rental property. Registration, they say, only costs $15. So presumably, if you signed a 2-year lease before this measure went into effect and your tenant suddenly stops paying rent, you can't evict them unless you registered that property they're living in as a rental property with the city of Spokane. Picking up on the point where they say it only costs $15 to register, that was not my experience when it came to registering a rental property of mine. I hold my properties in LLCs, and registering them as a business within the city of Spokane and getting the rental property registration cost me several $100s. I also sought legal advice to make sure I wasn't missing anything with this registration, and that cost me more as well. A cost which, incidentally, I added up, divided by 12, and added to my tenant's rent when the renewal came up. Which brings me to my first criticism of this measure. Measures like these add to the cost of owning rental properties. When I decide how much rent I'm going to charge for a property, the figure isn't arbitrary. I add up all my costs on one side of the equation. If I can, I build in a profit margin, but sometimes the market doesn't support me making a profit, so I run the property at break even or even run it at a loss. Landlords aren't out there making thousands of dollars per property. The margins are actually pretty thin, especially since we just saw insurance premiums go up across the board and wipe out a lot of people's margins. So when a new cost comes along, like that imposed by the city of Spokane, which isn't $15 no matter what they say, you can bet your council seat that this cost is going to get passed along to the end user, which is the tenant. State law already applies to the landlord-tenant relationship. The IRS is already involved, they know how much money you're making. So why does the city of Spokane feel the need to put its nose into this consensual commercial relationship? Well, that's the ominous part. We as landlords knew the instant this measure was first put into place, the measure to compile a list of rental properties and the landlords, that they are going to use this registration list as a way of imposing and enforcing new measures such as rent control, code compliance inspections, habitability inspections, and probably restrictions on evictions over and above those imposed by state law. We know this because similar things have been done by other jurisdictions with disastrous results. Just look at jurisdictions like LA. There is some good news, however, out of this. The city is getting sued by an organization representing landlords who say that the measure is both unreasonable and conflicts with state law on several fronts. Here's what the big brains at the city council had to say about this pushback to their measure. Councilwoman Kitty Klitsky said she was baffled by the opposition to the measure. This isn't a huge barrier. It takes about 15 minutes to do. I fail to see the undue burden on landlords, but the benefits for the community are great. I am personally confused about what benefits there are to compiling a list of landlords, unless of course they have some heavy-handed anti-landlord legislation in the works, like the measures that I just outlined before, like rent controls and so on. Councilman Zach Saponi said he has to update his license as a teacher regularly, and being registered with the city as a landlord should not be difficult. We talk a lot about personal responsibility. I think that applies to business owners too, he said. So there you are, the uninformed opinion of two people that have clearly never run any sort of business in their lifetimes. That's it for this video. Unfortunate news if you're a Spokane landlord, and even worse news if you're a Spokane tenant. But those are the facts about how the landlord-tenant relationship is developing here in the city of Spokane. Like I said, my name is Phil Wells. If you're a landlord and you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. Or if you've watched this and decided that you're done being a landlord in the city of Spokane, I can help you sell that property too. If you're interested in contacting me, my details are in the description to this video. Until the next video, thank you for watching.